Hello everyone, this is Ahmed Hamdi and this is AutoCAD 2020 Accelerated course. Actually, I'm planning to do this course in less than 2 hours. So after those 2 hours, everyone should master the main features of AutoCAD. But before we start, let me give you like a brief introduction about AutoCAD and why we're using AutoCAD. Actually, AutoCAD is the most common drawing and drafting application. So many types of engineers or different engineering fields or non-engineers, by the way, are using this software. So this software is very crucial actually for civil and architecture engineers. Actually, it's like a crucial program for their work. So they are using this software in their daily base, as well as mechanical engineers. They are using this software like to develop something like working in assembly drawings and develop something like blueprints. So this is very crucial software for drafting and drawing. So when we come back to the name or the abbreviation of AutoCAD, actually, as mechanical engineer, when we say just CAD abbreviation, we're talking about computer aided design. Actually, we have some concurrent words to this abbreviation, something like computer integrated manufacturing and computer aided manufacturing. So we have something called CAD CAM CIM or CIM. So when we say CAD, we are talking about computer aided design. So it's like the process of design using any software. So when we say design specifically, this word in general means that we have to do something like a model, and then for this model we have to do analysis, some sort of analysis. We couldn't just depend on the drawing or a model and we can consider that as this is like a full design. No, we should do some analysis, and then we can assume that this process, the process of modeling and then analysis, is a design process. Okay, so for CAD, as we said, it's computer aided design, but here is different actually, because AutoCAD here is just drawing software. So CAD here stands for computer aided drawing or drafting. It's not a design software because actually we don't have any design features in this software. Okay, so again, this is like most common like abbreviation. We are saying CAD. It's like computer aided design, but here is different. It's computer aided drawing or drafting. So now let's have like a start overview about the software. So first of all, to start a new drawing, we have to click on this new icon right there. So once we click on this icon, we have this window. This window tells you that you have to select one template from those ones. Actually, select template here. We can select whatever the template we want. We can create our own templates and then put it in this folder. Later we will say this at the end of the course. Okay, so first of all, we have something like a default template here, which is a CAD ISO template. This one is the most recommended one. Why? Because the units right there in this template is in millimeters, and actually the scale will be 1:1. So this is like a raw template, so anyone can use this without any problems, without any customized settings. So this is like a raw file or a raw template that anyone can use it from scratch. Okay, so let's start with this one, CAD ISO. Open. So basically, as we can see here, it's like a familiar interface. We have different tabs or ribbons right there. Inside those tabs or those ribbons, we have some sections here. So this is like a draw section and modify section, annotation, layers, and so on the rest. Inside those sections, we have some features here. So inside draw section, we have line, polyline, circle, arc, and so on the rest. And the same for modify. We have move, copy, rotate, mirror, and the rest. So it's very simple interface, like office package software applications like Word and Excel and PowerPoint. We have ribbons. Inside those ribbons, sections. Inside those sections, we have features. Okay, and then in this area we have, this is like the drawing area. I'm sorry, so this is the license problem here. So inside this area we should pick an entity like line, polyline, circle, and the rest, and then we can start. We will know everything in more details later. And then we have something very crucial right there. This is something called a command bar. Using any command, you should use or type your command using this command bar. And actually we have like positioning and zoom features and like ban, and this is like orientation or positioning panel here. So we can just like ban or zoom, extend, whatever the positioning you want. You can customize this panel, by the way, and select whatever you want. Okay, so here as well we can add more sheets, or we can open multiple AutoCAD files right there in this sheets bar, and then we can manipulate between the sheets and move between the sheets from this bar. Okay, well, as I told you, AutoCAD is very simple software. It's very common and familiar software. It's very easy to use, so we can do anything using either two ways. We can just type commands. So if you want to do for example, you want to do or draw a line, so you can just type line in your keyboard and then hit enter and follow the command bar right there. Or you can either select from this ribbon and this section line and then do whatever you want. So we have two different options to use this software. Either we can type any command we want, or you can pick it from the ribbon or the section you want. Okay, so to master this software, you can just take into your consideration one point. It just follow this command bar instructions. Once you are following the instructions of this command bar, everything will be very easy with you. So let's start with the line, for example. So from ribbon feature, from home ribbon, from home tab, from draw section, we can pick a line, and then here in the command bar it says that you have to specify the first point. Okay, so you can just click at anywhere in this drawing area. Let me, for example, select this point here, and then it says that you have to specify the next point. So we can't just click at any point we want. So now we are drawing different lines, different connected lines, by the way. So if you want to change or like modify the length of this line or the angle, you can just hit the value. We have two different rectangles right there using this line feature. The first one is representing the length of this line, and the second one is representing the current angle of this line. So we can manipulate and shuffle between the length rectangle and the angle rectangle by just click on tab on your keyboard. So if we hit tab button in our keyboards, we can just shuffle between the length rectangle and the angle rectangle right there, as you can see here. It's very simple. So for example, let me give you an example. So let's do something like 100 in length and 45 in angle. So this short line will be 100 in length and the angle will be 45 degrees. Okay, so this is like the most simple command, the line. So again, we can do a line either from this menu, you can select it from here, or you can just type the line command and then follow the instructions of the command bar. Okay, so let's start with this draw section and the home ribbon with the second feature. The second one we have here right there is Polyline. So let's pick this Polyline feature and do any random shape like this one here, and then hit OK. Okay, so now if we gonna select this line, it will be like one entity. Those separate lines, once you select them from anywhere, they will be one single entity. That means that they are considering that this line is just one line or one entity. Okay, so again, what is the difference between line and polyline? Let's pick a line again and do the same random shape or something very close to this random shape. So now we'll have here, we'll have different lines or separate lines right there. We can pick any one separately and do whatever we want. Either we can remove it or extend it or whatever the function we want. And actually for the second one, it's just like one single entity. So this is the difference between line and polyline. This is one single line and those are different lines. Okay, so why we're using this type of line of the like something like the polyline, actually it's used by civil or architecture engineers actually in their, if they have something like a plane or a ground floor and this is like an irregular floor or land, something like that, and they want to do like same characteristics for the surrounding or the boundary of this area. So they don't have to pick separate lines and do like hatching center lines or dash lines or change the color of those lines. So once they are using polyline, they can just pick any one of them and change the characteristic they want, either the type of line or the color of this line. So this gives you the privilege to do something like one continuous line. Okay, if you have something like an irregular boundary. So this is the difference between line and polyline. Actually we can convert those connected lines to be something like separate lines by using this one. We'll talk about it later, explode feature here in the modify section. So if we click on this explode feature, those lines will be something like separate lines, as we can see right there. So now we have separate lines, we don't have one continuous line. Okay, so if you want to bring them back like one continuous line, we have something here called join here. So if we click on this join feature right there, they will be one line like they are in the previous. Okay, so now we can convert those separate lines to be one line, or we can change this one continuous entity to be separate lines from just explode and join features right there in the modify section. Okay, so let's move to the third one, the third feature we have, which is circle. If we click on circle feature here, we can just follow the command bar, which says that we have to specify the radius. Actually, first of all, if we pick circle right there, it says that you have to specify the center point of the circle. So let's assume this will be the center line of the circle. Okay, then it says that you have to specify the radius of the circle. So let's assume the radius will be something like 50 millimeters. Okay, but actually if we drag down the menu of this circle, we'll find that we have different options. We have something like center and diameter, 2 points, 3 points, tangent, tangent and radius, or tangent, tangent, tangent. If we just pick this one, it will be something like that. If we have three different lines and we want to make like a random circle between them, and we don't know the distance or we don't know the gaps between those lines, we just hit this option, the last one, tangent, tangent, tangent. Okay, so here we have different options to create any center, but here if we select this one, center and diameter, it says that you have to specify the center point of the circle and then you have to write the diameter of this circle. So let's assume the diameter will be 200 and then hit enter. Okay, I'm sorry for this message. I'll try to solve this license issue soon. So again, let's assume that the diameter will be 200, so it will be something like that. Okay, so moving to the third feature, which is arc. Actually we have different types of arcs. Let's start with the first one, which is 3-point arc. So if we click arc, we can just like make any arc using 1, 2, 3 points. Okay, we can use any random arc using those 3 points. Again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, So this is one option of developing an arc, but actually if we drag down this menu we have multiple options right there. Either we can do an arc using start, center and end, something like that. So this is the start and this will be the center, so the distance between them will be the radius, okay, of this arc, and this will be the end point of this arc. So actually we have different options to use this arc feature. For the rectangle it's a very simple one. So if we click the rectangle, okay, it says that we have to specify the first corner of this rectangle. So let's assume that this will be the first point of the rectangle. And now if we want to put the dimensions of this rectangle, we have to specify the length and the width of this rectangle. So let's click on D here, which related to dimensions, or we can select just dimensions from there. And then it says that we have to specify the length of this rectangle. So let's assume the length will be something like 200 millimeters, okay, and then the width of this rectangle, let's assume it will be 120 millimeters. So now we have rectangle with this dimensions. So it will ask you which quadrant you want to put your rectangle in. So let's assume we'll pick it here, okay. So I forget to tell you something very interesting at the beginning. Actually, the scale here right there in this template is 1:1, as I told you, from scratch. When we click on the template, the CAD ISO template, so the default scale type of any drawing you are drawing right now in this template will be scaled with 1:1 scale, okay. For the units we can bring it from two different we can bring it or change it from two different ways. So the first way to change the units, you can just hit units in your keyboard and then hit enter, and you have to make sure that the units you're using is the correct one. In our case it's millimeters, okay. And again we have different options, or we can do the same process using just click on this A letter right there in the corner, and then go down to drawing utilities and select the units from here, okay. So we can either type units or we can bring it from drawing utilities right there, okay. So this is how to change the unit system of your drawing, okay. So moving back to our drawing section, we just explained how to draw a rectangle using dimensions or different dimensions. So let's drag down this menu and see what we have inside it. So the next feature inside the rectangle is polygon. So polygon, that means that we can do like different sides of any polygon. So we can start with three edges or three sides, which will be something like a triangle, and then square, pentagon, hexagon, and so on the rest. So it depends on the number of sides you want. So let's click on this one. First of all, it will ask you to enter the number of sides. So let's assume we want to do something like a pentagon. So we'll hit 5 here, and then it will ask you to specify the center point of this polygon. Let's assume it will be here. And then it will ask you either this polygon will be inscribed in circle or circumscribed about circle. So it will ask you either this polygon shape will be inside a circle or outside a circle. So let's assume it will be inside the circle. So we'll click OK, and then it will ask you about the radius of this circle. So let's assume this radius will be 150, okay. So it will be something like that. You can change the number of edges or the number of sides. Let's do something like hexagon. So 6 is the number of sides, and then this will be the center point of the polygon. Let's assume it will be inscribed, circumscribed about circle. Then hit OK, and then write the radius of the circle you want, okay. So it's very simple to draw any polygon right there in this software, okay. Moving to the next one, which will be the ellipse. So actually we have different options to do an ellipse. So let's start with the first one, which is center ellipse. So if we click on center ellipse, first of all, again, we are following this command bar. First of all, it says that you have to specify the center point of this ellipse. So let's start, or let's assume this will be the center point of the ellipse. And then let's go to the right and then move back with the dimension or the distance we want. Okay, so now we have an ellipse. Okay, so moving to the last feature here in the draw section, actually we have something called hatch. When we are using something like sectioning, or we are cutting through components, like in mechanical engineering we have different assemblies, so we have to cut through the midpoint or the mid plane of this assembly to show how the components are arranged together and show the mechanism of this product. So we are doing something like sectioning. So we have to differentiate those components with the different hatching patterns. So this is the hatch. Okay, so let's click on hatch. We have different hatching patterns for different materials. So each material actually has has a specific hatching pattern. For example, the concrete has a specific hatching pattern. The steel, the rest materials, each material has a specific hatching pattern. But actually in the academic field or in the academic institutions, we are using just this one, which is ANSI 31 hatching pattern, to do something like 45 lines, like something like that exactly. So let's click on this hatching pattern and just click the boundary we want to hatch. It should be something like a closed boundary. We couldn't hatch in the space or in the air right there. So this is like an open boundary, so nothing will be hatched. But actually we should have something like a closed profile, like closed boundary, like this one. Okay, but here we have like the hatching pattern is very small, so the gaps between the lines is very small, so we can increase it from here. We can actually add like 150, or let's make it like 50 scale, so it will be something like that. Let's make it 10 for example. So this is fine, I think. Okay, and as we can see, all those 45 lines, the angle of those ones is zero. This is the default angle. So if we want to change it to the reverse direction, we should type right there 90 degrees. So now the hatching pattern will be in the reverse direction. Okay, once you're done, you should close the hatching creation right there. Okay, so now we buzzed through different types of entities in the home draw section. Actually, the last feature we can talk about is the fit spline and fit curve. If we want to do something like a curve, random curve using different points like this one here, so now we can do something like that. Okay, so now this curve will be one continuous curve. It will be like one single entity. We can use the same curve or the same feature, but actually with different technique, something called spline curve. So we can draw a random curve, but just using spline points or curvature points right there. The methodology is different, by the way. Okay, so those are the different types of curves or something like splines right there. Okay, so now I think we're done with the draw section, actually in home ribbon. Okay, we say that we can change the scale from here. We can change the units I showed you before. We can just type units in keyboard and change the units we want. Actually, let me give you like the last thing in this draw section. If we have a line like this one here, actually this line is completely free. Okay, we can change the length and the angle of this line without any problem, as we can see right there. So this is a line. We can hit the value or the length value of this line, and then we can change the angle of this line. Okay, but actually if we want to make like a vertical or horizontal lines, we have something right there called ortho mode, or the shortcut of this one is F8. If you just click on F8 on your keyboard, this mode or this feature will be activated. Let's click on this one and see what will be happened. So if we click on this one, if we activated the ortho mode feature, all lines, all lines will be vertical and horizontal. I think the software is stuck. No, it comes back. So now we have just vertical and horizontal lines, as we can see right there. Okay, so those are the different features and row or the different options in the row section. The same for arc. We move through circles options, and we know polygon, arc, and so on the rest. So now I think we're done with this video, and let's keep separate videos to just avoid the problem of the space and the uploading issues. So in the next video I will show you the modify. I will explain the modify and annotation sections in more details, and I hope this video is fine, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.